Hello everyone and welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast. And today we're going to discuss a super interesting topic, which is how to make a decision when you're unsure. Decision making. Such a valuable skill. When I used to work as an HR, I can definitely tell you that decision making is something that we've been looking for every and each managerial position, every niche C-level person, every niche person that wants to rule the world, or any other person in particular. So today we're diving deep into the struggle of making a decision. If you kind of want to say yes, but you want to say no, but maybe something in between also would be an option. So you are torn apart between all of the options, none of the options. You don't know what to do, you don't know what to decide, especially when you are unsure and you have way too many options, right? It might feel so frustrating. Today I will share what makes decisions so tough, how to simplify this process, and a couple of tips and tricks that will help you to make decisions with confidence. My favorite American Psychology Association made a research where they're saying that in average, an adult person makes around 35,000 decisions per day. And we want all of them to be right. And we believe that there is a right decision for each particular situation. Well, I think it's a bit naive. But anyway, that's what makes things a little bit overwhelming, that we're facing with decision making on each step of our day, and sometimes we really sense this feeling like we are unsure, we can't concentrate, we can't predict, and we can't calculate all the possible outcomes. So it's really hard to make the best decision, even though sometimes it doesn't even exist. So sometimes when we have way too many options and we are frustrated, it leads basically to impulse choices or avoiding of making decisions at all. There is also this concept that calls a paradox of the choice. The research from Columbia University shows that when given 24 or more options, only 3% of people made a purchase. So, however, when options are reduced to just 6 options, 30% made a choice, which means that more options doesn't always lead to better choices or easier choices, and they just basically lead to more stress. So what can we do in this fast-paced world where everything is changing all the time and we do need to make choices and choose from multiple options? Let's first understand how decision making generally works in our brain, right? In our brain, most of our decision making happens in prefrontal cortex. But sometimes when we do feel overwhelmed, there is the part that's responsible for our emotions. It's amygdala, and it causes us basically to go into a freeze mode or to avoid making a choice at all. What can we do basically to make a better decisions? We need to have a clear mind and very focused state where we can consider all of the options and make a decision. A couple of tips and tricks that will help to come into this focused clarity state of mind. First of all, you can set a deadline. So research shows that 80% of the decisions that were made quickly are generally better than those that were made with more time use, rather than being overanalyzed. We all know that overthinking doesn't really bring us nowhere, right? So if you will set a realistic deadline and basically give yourself this specific amount of time just to make a decision, let's say a few minutes, it's just a few minutes decision, this will help to reduce overthinking, reduce level of stress, and bring you more clarity to, in general, make better decisions. Second thing is identify 2 to 3 main criteria. When we're unsure, it's mostly because we have too many factors in our mind. We're trying to make calculations and predictions what option is going to be the best, but there is sometimes too many factors or sometimes too many unknown parts of this equation that makes us feel frustrated and overwhelmed. So what can you do is basically to narrow it down to 2 or 3 essential things that you're looking for in making this decision. So instead of worrying on every possible outcome, you're just going to be concentrated on things that matter. And tip number 3 is make a gut check. You know this saying, like, I have a feeling in my gut, like I sense it in my gut. That's exactly what happens, because our brain processes information mostly on subconscious level, which gives us this gut feeling. So double checking with your intuition or double checking with your gut is something that can also help you to make better decisions. Tip number 4 is visualize yourself in the future. So imagine that you made this decision, that you made a choice, and imagine how you're going to feel about it in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. For most of the choices, in 10 years, we're not going to care at all. So all the stress about making a right decision or the best decision can be really, really reduced by just thinking, is it going to matter in 10 years? Is it really going to matter? And also, if you're projecting into a couple of years ahead and you feel proud or happy about making this certain decision, that's a good sign that it's a right decision. And again, remember that there is no perfect decision or the best. There's something that will work for you in a certain way, and you'll have to face the consequences. That's pretty much it. And step number 5, basically commit and don't look back. Once you made a decision, don't try to calculate and think what other options would bring you, if there was a better option, if you made a mistake. Regret is not a delicious pill, you know? And once you decide, just stay with it. Just commit to your decision and go all the way to the end to see what's the results, what the outcomes of your decision. Also, if you're talking from the more philosophical point of view, even when you're making a mistake, like a wrong decision, which also I truly believe doesn't exist, you do this for a reason, because sometimes you need to go through a negative experience, through the painful experience, through the experience of losing, of failing. Sometimes you need to go through this to learn the essential lessons to become who you need to become. So even a failure in the moment can feel like a win in the future. Also, I can give you one practical tip that I use myself. I learned it from my mentor. It's called a double yes system. So what happens is that sometimes when we have a decision to make and we have option yes or no, and we do really feel like we're right in the middle, from like, I want to say yes, but I want to say no at the same time. It might feel really overwhelming. Why it happens? Because some part of us really wants to say yes. Another part of us really wants to say no. And it makes sense. For example, you go into some new experience and some part of you, enthusiastic, creative, risky, really wants to take this risk, go into the new experience and do their best and to achieve new goals, new results, and just to see how it can be. But there is a part of you that really wants to stay in the comfort zone, that really wants to stay in what's known, in what's achieved, don't take any specific risks, and just don't lose what we already have. This part will tend to say no. So it actually makes very much sense. It actually makes lots of sense that you might feel this in-between situation. What are we gonna do in this situation? So you're saying your first yes to entering and trying the experience that lives give to you. Together with this, you have to set a specific deadline for how long am I gonna try and experience this. For example, I want to try a new career path. I've never been there. I don't know if I'm gonna be successful. There is a chances that I'm gonna fail, but I really, really want to try it because I feel that it might be my calling. It is scary. I'm really feeling in between yes or no. Should I do this or should I not? So what am I doing is I'm saying my first yes to entering the experience, to trying, to doing my best to try. And I'm setting a specific deadline. For example, 6 months. For the next 6 months, I'm gonna do my very best to get the best results possible to succeed in this new career. I'm not gonna have any side thoughts. I'm not gonna have any doubts. I'm not gonna change my decision. 6 months, I'm gonna be dedicated for 100% into succeeding in this challenge, into succeeding in this new career. And that's what I'm saying yes to. Once this 6 months will pass, then I have to make a second choice. If I want to continue, was it successful? No. If I want to continue, if I want to drop it. And then I'm giving my second yes or second no. Because what feels so overwhelming sometimes is that we're trying to make a decision, like to solve the equation where there's too many unknown parts. We don't know what's going to happen when we will enter the experience. We don't know what kind of people we're going to meet, what kind of financial things going to happen, what are we going to feel when we are there. Because something that might look like our dream or the best decision ever might feel really wrong in the moment. So by splitting this process of decision making into two parts, you're basically giving yourself an option to step into this experience, to already put yourself into this context and make your decision not from hypothetical idea of how it can feel, but making your second and last decision basically from being there, from feeling the feelings, from understanding how it's gonna feel, what it can bring you, for having more information, for having less unknown parts of the equation. And supposedly it's gonna give you more clarity, and also it's gonna give you this feeling that you feel better what is the right decision for you at the moment. So hope this tip was useful, and I will leave also some suggestions regarding the books on the decision making in the description of the video. If you found it useful, please leave a comment, subscribe, share it with someone who will also find some value in this video. Thank you very much for being with me today, and I will leave you with one thought today, right? I will leave you with thought that I have quite often. Not making a decision is also a decision. Just think about it. And I see you in the next episodes. Bye-bye.